Good evening. Good evening. I would like to call this meeting to order. Mr. Lotzenheiser, may I have roll call, please?
President Wade, members of the board, please let the record show that 4 members are in attendance tonight, and Ms. Schultz is not in attendance right now.
Please join me in a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
That would be Mr. Glover seconding. Please submit your vote via the portal, maybe. Oh, hey, go ahead. That's up there. Ms. Zimmerman, would you like us to do a verbal one for this one? Okay, no worries. Okay, thank you. Yes. This is the motion to approve the agenda.
Okay.
All right.
Yay.
So I believe that's 5 yays, even though I can't see the little box. Ms. Zimmerman, can you correct me if I'm wrong on that? All right, 5 yays with 0 nays, folks. We're learning, everybody. I appreciate it. Mr. Lotzenheiser, you are up.
President Wade, members of the board, for the superintendent's report, we're going to start with Higley happenings, and with such a large people in the audience, I would appreciate if you guys would stay through the end of the superintendent's report. There will be a time at the end when we can dismiss you if you'd like to leave after that, but what a great time for us to recognize people within our community. So Higley happenings, and let me see. All right, first I would like to invite Grant Kellis to come up here. I don't know if he's made it yet. All right, so Grant, if you're out there and you're listening, we'd like to recognize Grant Kellis, a senior at Higley High School, for winning the 200 freestyle at the 2025 Division I Swim and Dive State Championships. If we can give Grant a round of applause, please. So because of this, and in addition to the rest of the season, Grant was also named to the All-State Swim Team. Grant's success brings pride to his school and emphasizes the significance of commitment and passion in achieving his goals. To be a state champion is something they can never take away from you. So congratulations and well done, Grant. Once again, Grant Kellis. Thank you. Now it's Cameron Kellogg here. Cameron Kellogg, if you could come on down. Everybody give a round of applause to Cameron Kellogg. So on December 9th, Sossaman Middle Schooler 7th grade student Cameron Kellogg won the East Valley Conference Championship cross-country race. She defeated 146 other runners to claim the championship for the EVC. Let's give Cameron a big round of applause. I have our assistant principal and athletic director at Sossaman Middle School, Mr. Keeling, is now going to say a few words about Cameron.
Absolutely. So Cameron did a fantastic job with the race. Like Mr. Lotzenheiser said, defeated 146 other runners, and she finished ahead of those runners by 5 seconds. And so she did really, really well.
For the Cortina Tigers.
Good evening, everyone. President Wade, members of the board, cabinet, thank you so much for having us this evening. It's always such a joy to be able to celebrate and honor the people who make up our school community, because they really are the ones who make the magic happen. So I'd like to start off with our student. So Miss Clara Emenecker, come on up. All right, so Clara is a fifth grade student at Cortina, and she's not only excels academically, but she is a student who is kind and shows empathy towards others. She's an actively involved student, being a part of our NEHS, our color guard, and she really does contribute positively to any group that she is a part of. One of the special things that really highlights her civic responsibility that she shows as a student is Clara was the driving force behind the return of our school campus recycling program. So a few years ago, our recycling program was no longer supported by the town of Queen Creek. And so that went away, and Clara felt very passionately about this. And last year, she came to me with a petition and a whole list of reasons why we needed to bring the program back. We had a conversation, kind of talked through the logistics of everything, the financial aspect of everything. And Clara was then invited to come to our PTO meeting last year. She did a wonderful presentation to our PTO and was able to convince them that this was something worth putting their funds towards. And so she has been essential in getting that started. This year, our program is up and running. We've got recycling going, and it's been amazing. And it's all due to Clara and her actions. So she's an amazing kid. Her teacher said so many wonderful things about her. One of the things that she highlighted was Clara's in our accelerated math program, and she has been mastering lots of the fifth grade standards, but she's moving into the sixth grade standards. And while most students know what pi is, Clara actually owns a book that lists hundreds of digits of pi, and she's memorized more than 100 of them in sequence, which is truly impressive. So she is an amazing girl. She's got compassion and empathy and kindness that is shown towards every student that she interacts with. She's so respectful towards the adults at our school, and she's just an amazing kid. So we are very proud that she is representing Cortina tonight as our Points of Pride. Congratulations, Clara. So, Clara, go ahead and tell everyone who you brought with you tonight.
I have my family and my grandparents and my parents.
Thank you for being here. All right, and next I'd like to invite our certified staff member, Angela Ransdell. All right, so Angela is our speech language pathologist at Cortina, and she is an individual who truly changes lives. She approaches her work with care and compassion, and every child that she interacts with feels seen, they feel heard, they feel supported, and they all look forward to seeing her when they get to go and see her. So they actually don't want to leave her class when they're there. She collaborates well with her colleagues to help ensure that students are supported in all of the areas of need, particularly with the language development, but also social skill development. And she never hesitates to do whatever it takes to help a child in need. She brings a sense of humor and joy to her sessions, making learning fun and engaging for kids. She puts her heart and soul truly into everything that she does, going above and beyond all the time to make sure that her kids are growing and experiencing that success. The relationships that she has built with families over time and with her colleagues is amazing to see. She's affected so many of our families, and she has a very large caseload. She does her work, though. She comes, and it's no small feat, but she does it with grace, with dedication, and a smile. Angela tells it like it is, always with honesty and humor, and never fails to make others laugh. But I just appreciate all that she has done in the years. I've worked with her for a number of years now. I can't even count how many, but it's been wonderful to watch the lives that she's impacted, and we're just so grateful that we have such a dedicated, amazing individual. So thank you, Angela. All right, Mrs. Ransdell, who did you bring this evening with you?
I brought my son, Adam, my son, Ian, and my husband, and my one student. I did bring one student, but actually he came in, that is my Connor.
And that is how she refers to her kids. It's my Connor and my Susie and my so-and-so, and they claim her that way too. All right.
For our classified as points of pride let me try again and get my words right. For our classified points of pride recipient, please welcome Miss Emily Puckett to the front. Emily is an exceptional member of our Cortina staff. She has been with us for a number of years and has grown in a number of ways. She previously has served as a lunch aide for us and had come to Mrs. Papke and I expressing an interest in wanting to grow her skill set and do more to help serve our students. And now, for the past 2 years, has served our students in the role of a cross-categorical paraprofessional with our students. She has been a part of the Tiger family for 9 years and has just really embraced Higley's core values during her time with us. Every day she comes ready to serve, knowing that her purpose here is to help support not only our students, but the greater Cortina community. She is always learning-centered, very much focused on not only her growth, but ensuring that all she interacts with daily are growing as well. She seeks feedback, asks great questions, contributes wonderful ideas to help support the students in her classroom, the teachers that she works with, but just, again, that greater Cortina community. She's kind and patient. The relationship she has formed with her students over the past 2 years is just truly phenomenal, and they feel so loved and valued by Miss Puckett. She enriches those relationships by making sure she's continually learning all she can about her students, but then sharing that knowledge not only with our staff, but wanting to form those connections with our staff as well. She has a keen awareness of high expectations that we set for all members of our Cortina community, demonstrates accountability for the work that she does, and without Emily on campus, Cortina just would not be the same. And so thank you, Emily, for not only bringing your best every day and serving our community with such pride, but being authentically you. We appreciate you. And would you like to introduce who you brought with you tonight?
I brought my husband, Chris, and my 3 daughters, Maddie, Mikkel, and Maya, and my son-in-law, Aaron.
Wonderful. Thank you. And for our volunteer Points of Pride recipient tonight, we welcome Ms. Aubrey Bechtel to the front. Aubrey, these are for you. You're welcome. And Kelly has them for you too. Okay. Most prominently, Aubrey serves as our PTO president, but she is also mom and volunteer extraordinaire and our go-to, hey, where could we get this? Or how could we blast this on social media? Or what creative ideas do you have for this go-to woman of all trades, if you will? But in her role as our PTO president, Aubrey is not only a collaborative leader, she's an advocate for our school, she's a bridge for our families and the larger school community. She demonstrates in not only the meetings she holds with PTO, but in all interactions with our staff, our students, our families, that active listening. Her top-notch organization skills are just phenomenal. I thought I was a good organizer, but yours is top-notch. And most importantly, in her role as a PTO member, she is truly the ultimate motivator for getting volunteerism up and running and solid and consistent in our community. Her decisions and the decisions that she helps support our PTO board with are always front and center on student success and the overall forward movement of Cortina. She goes above and beyond in coordinating events. If you have ever seen any of our PTO events, you know that it is her staying late to add that final decoration or that final little detail that just can't go unnoticed. She secures community partnerships, helps bridge any and all connections we can make with our local businesses, but also within our Higley schools, especially our feeder schools. She just steps in and helps whatever is needed, whenever it is needed. She fosters inclusion, has clear communication about her goals with PTO, and truly shares in the purpose that Mrs. Pepke and I help lead in our mission and vision for Cortina. She creates that strong, positive culture, and you can't walk away from a conversation with Aubrey without feeling valued, respected, and an important part of the process. So thank you, Aubrey. We appreciate you. And Aubrey, your cheering squad is who?
I have my husband, Mike, here, who obviously without him is an amazing partner and teammate. I couldn't do half the stuff for our school that I do. My daughter, Taylor, and Bruin are here. They're little tigers also. And then my mom and dad are here to support. And then truly, again, it takes a village, as we all know. And I have our amazing PTO members here to support me. And without them, we would not all be successful. So I'm so grateful for the community we've built. And so thank you guys for coming out to support. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Cortina. And now if I could have Mrs. Bachali and Mrs. Bacon up to the front for HTA.
Good evening. So our first honoree this evening is Joy Berg. Would you come on up? So Joy is a 6th grade leader on our campus, What exemplifies her leadership is through her active involvement in student council. She's consistent in her commitment in serving our community. She confidently leads our daily announcements, plays a key role in organizing our energizing pep rallies, and supports a variety of student-led initiatives across campus. Her leadership is grounded in kindness, collaboration, respect for others. As she works thoughtfully with her peers and staff alike, she sets a positive example for her fellow students and contributes meaningfully to a welcome and inclusive school culture. Congratulations, Joy.
I brought my whole family. It would take all day. But at least everybody.
Okay, you have to stay here. All right, our next is our teacher, Megan Green. So Megan is our 6th grade social studies teacher. We have a lot of 6th grade people here tonight. She has an exceptional commitment to providing authentic, engaging learning experiences that deepen student understanding and foster real-world connections. Through thoughtfully designed instructions, she consistently encourages critical thinking, collaboration, and for sure, student voice. Beyond the classroom, she's a valued team player who willingly supports colleagues and contributes positively to our culture. Her leadership as the drama club advisor and a yearbook club advisor further reflects her dedication to student engagement, creativity, our school community, and making her an invaluable asset for us. So Megan, you have a big group of people too. Rattle them off real quick.
I brought my family, my kids included, who have come through my class, which is amazing, and my entire team, including amazing colleagues from my school, and then all of you, and Joy. So, well, yes, my mom and dad, they're part of my family.
All right, the next person that we're going to honor is our office manager, Amy Woodruff. We appreciate Amy for her exceptional dedication and leadership in supporting every facet of our elementary school's operations. She plays a critical role in ensuring teachers have the resources and support they need to foster student success, while skillfully managing budgeting, logistics, and day-to-day operational demands. Her commitment to outstanding customer service internally and externally creates a welcoming and efficient environment for staff, students, and families alike. By wearing many, 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 many hats with professionalism and care, she ensures that our school runs smoothly and effectively, making her an incredibly indispensable member of our school community. Thank you. Who do you have here?
I have my husband, Nick, and my son, Parker, and my daughter, Libby.
All right, last but certainly not least, we have our PTO Vice President, Mrs. Bethany Utley. If you'll come on up. We appreciate Mrs. Utley for her outstanding leadership and unwavering commitment to fostering a positive school culture. She's been instrumental in organizing our first ever trunk or treat event, creating a memorable experience for students and families and staff. We all loved it. Opening the door to a unique opportunity to welcome the Arizona Cardinals to our campus. That was an amazing opportunity for our students. Her ongoing support of teacher recognition initiatives and her collaboration with the district to build meaningful business partnerships reflects her dedication to both staff and students. Through her tireless efforts and willingness to go above and beyond, she has made a lasting and positive impact on our school community. We appreciate you so much. And who do you have here with you?
My husband Josh and my daughter Harlow.
There needs to be a
President Wade, members of the board, for the final part of the superintendent's report, we just have some upcoming events. Thursday, January 29th is Kinder Roundup on our elementary campuses. We're really excited to see next year's kindergarten. I think it's class of 2039, which seems rather bizarre to me. And on Tuesday, February 10th, we have the board business meeting. Also on February 10th, that is the last day for our 60-day public review for our ELA adoption, and we just want to remind anyone out there who would like to come in and view the ELA adoption material, typically they're in the back of this room on non-meeting days, to come through and see that. The last day would be February 10th. Wednesday, February 11th at 5 o'clock is the elementary cheer competition at Williamsfield High School. And then at 6:30 on the 11th is the Lunar New Year concert at the HCPA. So those are some upcoming events. And with that, I conclude our superintendent's report.
Thank you, Mr. Lotzenheiser. For those of you who were here for the Higley happenings and all of that, you are more than welcome to leave at this moment should you desire. We have public comments up next, so if you want to stay for that exciting portion, you are more than welcome.
I like how you said we have public comments up next, like it was like, and up next.
Well, one of them wanted to do something. They wanted to stay around. I didn't want them to be like,
Also, I have a cough as you hit. Oh, sorry.
Okay. Okay. So that was the last call for public comments. Next on the agenda are requests to speak. Please play the video.
We value input from our constituents. This time on our agenda has been set aside for anyone from the audience who wishes to address the board. Those that wish to speak should have filled out speaker cards, which are due prior to the start of our meeting. Members of the board may not discuss, comment, or take action on matters raised that are not specifically identified on the agenda. Therefore, pursuant to ARS 38-431.01I, action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to directing staff to study the matter, responding to any criticism, or scheduling the matter for further consideration and decision at a later date. Also, we ask that audience members practice proper public meeting decorum, refraining from either negative or positive responses, including clapping or verbal outbursts, to ensure fairness to all points of view. Those that refuse to follow these rules may be asked to leave. In accordance with Policy BEDH public participation at board meetings, if considered necessary, the governing board president shall set a time limit on the length of the comment period in order to ensure that each individual has an opportunity to address the board. The president may also set a time limit for individual speakers. Thank you for your cooperation.
First, we have Kathleen Richards.
Humans up in front of this room, as well as from our sister school, Cortina, so congratulations to those families. One of the things that I wanted to highlight, because tonight is going to be a hard meeting. The board has a difficult task of identifying how best to spend the lower amount of dollars that we have, both in part because of declining enrollment and because of a lack of community support for the override, which makes it possible for Higley to excel in so many of the ways that it does excel. And one of the things that I noted while the schools were giving their presentations were a couple of words that kept getting repeated over and over again when referring to our teaching staffs especially. And those words were growth, community, service, relationships, and commitment. I think that one of the things that we have learned as a family here in this district for nearly 10 years is that regardless of whatever is going on around and in our district, our teachers show those things tenfold to our students every single day. And it's important that they do because they see our children once they enroll in school. I talk about it all the time as a volunteer when I served on the PTO. Teachers have our kids for more waking hours in a day than we do as parents, and it is so important that we remind them how much we as parents and as a community support them, how much we trust them, how grateful we are for the work and the service that they do, because so much of what goes into being a quality teacher does not just happen in the classroom in terms of the instruction that is provided, but it is in the hours of prep and support that they put in. It is in the communication with parents. It is in the communication and the PD that they fulfill every day, every month, regardless of whether school is in session or out of session. Teachers are not idle, they are working. And I think one of the things that we as parents really need to remember is that where we can, we need to show our support to those individuals that we are tasking to help shape the young lives that we bring to them in our classrooms every single day. And I hope that the board, who has had several options put out in front of you, is able to come to a genuine consensus. I know that some members of the board support our teachers and our staff more than others, and that's done through not only the decisions that you levy from the dais, but also in how you conduct yourselves outside of this space. And I want to thank those of you who make a distinct effort to learn about the things that you don't know about, to communicate to our community what we need and why we are having to make these hard decisions. And as a parent and community member, I just appreciate the work that you guys do, the work that the administration has done. And again, I just want to express extreme gratitude to all of the teachers who serve our kids every single day in this district. Thank you.
Up next, we have Elizabeth Tenardi.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth Tenardi, and I'm a parent of twins who are currently in 4th grade in Coronado. This is a very last-minute speech. On the way home, I asked my daughter Ella if she wants to speak at the board meeting, and lo and behold, she said, "Oh yeah, what did they ask?" So she actually came up with 2 questions herself, and then she answered it herself, and I thought it was very impressive. So I'm just here to support her. But I also wanted to use this platform to thank each and every one of you, all the governing board members who really represent us, the parents and the students, to speak up for us. Superintendent and all the stakeholders and all the administrative staff who make up HUSD. I have experience with Gilbert and then also Mesa, so I can unbiasedly say that HUSD is the best district. My husband and I chose to drive 23 minutes each way to Coronado for the past 5 years. almost 5 years. Even though we literally can throw our kids right to the front of our neighborhood elementary school from our backyard. After graduating high school in Indonesia, I came to US to pursue higher educations. English is my third language, and it is very hard for me. And I had to work super hard to pass my TOEFL test, to pass my GMAT test, to get all my degrees. So I was really set on teaching my kids my native language, second language actually, Indonesian. So I speak Indonesian with my kids, and I intentionally, along with my husband, to choose and research Mandarin immersion school in Gilbert. So someone once told me, it takes 2 minutes for a toddler to pick up a hammer and destroy things, but it takes years for experts to create and build. I thought that was really awesome when I heard that. I was like, oh, some people are toddlers, some people are not. So I wanted to thank you all for choosing to be the expert and for not affecting current site programming such as the Mandarin DLI, for keeping elementary specials. This really truly shows that HUSD commitments to provide academic excellence, innovations, and continue to provide limitless opportunity. We all walk the walk and talk the talk, so that's awesome, and thank you for that. Both Mandarin DLI and specials such as PE and art and music, media, band, orchestra, they're all critically important to early learning experience and brain development. And I think a lot of us have spoken about that and then also share some research. So this is also what set us apart. When we take Mandarin DLI out of HUSD,
Thank you, Ms. Tenardi. Up next, we have Ella Sneeringer, or Sneeringer.
Hi, my name is Alice Nanger, and what I want to talk about is what I like about Mandarin. I like about Mandarin because I can speak different languages, and Mandarin is one of the languages that is hard to speak. If I go to China, I can speak fluently, and I can understand Mandarin when people are talking to me. And I can speak to my grandpa and grandma in Mandarin. What do I love about Coronado? I love about Coronado, they have amazing staff and teachers. They help me learn so much stuff even when I'm having a hard time. When I have a hard time, they let me sit in their front office for a while. They let me gain confidence. Then when I'm ready to go to class, they help me shine and get ready to learn. Thank you so much.
Up next, we have Travis White.
Good evening, President Wade, members of the board, superintendent, district leadership, and community members. My name is Travis, and I'm a proud parent of a kindergartner in the Mandarin Dual Immersion Program at Coronado Elementary. I know this is a little late, however, I want to thank all of the Coronado staff and PTO members for putting on Coronado's holidays around the world. The songs and performances were wonderful. I hope you saw that, Jeff. The PTO's annual gingerbread house decorating contest was a lot of fun, and it was great to see all the crafts being sold at the holiday market. I'm here tonight because I'm deeply concerned about the fiscal cliff our district is facing and the choices being presented to the board. I've heard the sentiment from some on the board that we should simply accept that more funding isn't coming. I've heard the suggestion that we should make the deepest cuts now, insinuating that we can't count on our community. Starting from a place of defeat isn't an option for our kids. Fiscal responsibility means investing in what works. As board members, I'm asking you to use your influence to help this community understand why an override is the best way to protect our schools. We shouldn't be managing the decline of our district. We should be fighting for the resources our students deserve. Regarding the budget proposals, acknowledging I don't have all of the details, We have to be realistic about our reserves. However, option 3 is too reactive, in my opinion. It cuts too deep, too fast, and treats our staff as expendable. Option 2 represents a middle ground as a calculated risk that preserves many positions as possible while maintaining a safety net. It acknowledges the reality of our situation without surrendering the quality of our schools. We often talk about inclusion in terms of our culture, but fiscal inclusion matters too. When we cut jobs, we cut the very people who make our students feel seen and supported. The teachers, the aides, and the staff who make our programs, like the Mandarin Dual Immersion program, possible. We cannot budget our way out of our values. The belief in belonging is one of the reasons I chose the Mandarin program at Coronado for my daughter. My mother-in-law is a native Mandarin speaker, and seeing the light in her eyes as my daughter's language skills grow has been incredible for our family. Let's start planning for our district's success. Let's pass a budget that protects jobs, and let's get to work on an override that ensures we never have to have this least worst option conversation again. Thank you for your time, your advocacy, and your belief in our students. Let's keep showing that together we got this, and that Higley's public schools can continue to be inclusive of all students, including those who are working to foster a second language like Mandarin.
That concludes our request to speak. This brings us to consent agenda items. I motion to approve consent agenda items 5.1 through 5.14.
Second.
That would be Ms. Jarman seconding. We'll see how it goes. Please submit your vote via the portal, and then if it doesn't, Ms. Schultz, just tell me, and then we can record it audibly.
President Wade?
Yes, Ms. Van.
I would like to explain my vote real quickly. Sure. While I'll be voting yes on the consent agenda, I just want to, for the record, point out that for 5.2, that the district is still paying our former CFO, who is now employed with Mesa as a consultant, and we have so far paid out around $3,600, and we plan to pay this out until the end of the year, even as we appoint a permanent CFO. And then also for 5.7, I know it was stated that the attorney has reviewed the slides for the levy, but I think it's important to watch the meeting because I remember it specifically being for the Williams Field traffic flow. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Schultz, were you able to vote on that? Can you just record yours audibly and then we'll...
Aye. Does that work, Christine? Yes?
I mean, I heard you.
I know, I just want to make sure that that works for her.
Again, we appreciate you all as we use new technology. Look how fancy we are. You got it?
Yay, yay.
Get it together, Mr. Glover. I said get it together. I'm just giving you a hard time. Motion carries with 5 yeas. Okay, now we would like to thank Ala Ahmad and Boba Cutie for their generous donations to the district. Mr. Lotzenheiser, you have an announcement for us?
President Wade, members of the board, with your approval of the consent agenda, I'm very pleased to announce that our interim CFO, Sharon Rushkamp, will now be our permanent CFO, Sharon Rushkamp. I want to thank Sharon for her hard work over the last 6 to 7 months as we've transitioned, and she's done an outstanding job. We're very excited to have her. By doing this, what it allows us to do now is post her current position, which is the Director of Finance. And so for this entire time, we've been working with a person down within the Finance Department. So it is our goal to fill that position as the Director of Finance and join this wonderful finance team, now led by our CFO, Sharon Rushkamp. So again, congratulations, Sharon.
Madam President, I just wanted to, we saw some retirements, and as we talked about, the sooner that staff lets us know that they're going to retire as we look at attrition to address some of our budget shortfalls, the sooner they can do that, the better, in case people have to get moved around or shuffled. So I just wanted to thank those who have already done it and encourage anyone who's decided that they're going to do that to let HR know as soon as possible. It really helps in budgeting and decisions that we have to make. Thank you.
Okay. Welcome, Ms. Ruskamp, officially for the job that you've been doing. I appreciate it. This brings us to 6.1, second review of fiscal year 2027 maintenance and operation budget. Ms. Ruskamp.
President Wade, members of the board, tonight we will look at the second review of maintenance and operations, our M&O budget. This will be for fiscal year 2027, which begins on July 1 of this year. So similar to what we looked at 2 weeks ago, this is the timeline for our budgets. In May, we will take our second revision for our current budget, which is FY 2026. That will be our second and final budget revision that we do. We'll take that to the May 5th governing board meeting and predict where we intend to end this current year that we are in. Then on June 2nd, we will take our 2027 proposed budget, taking the information that we know at that point and calculating our budgets, presenting it, and then June 26th is when we will adopt that budget. That will be June 23rd. And typically between the two meetings, the proposed and the adopted, there's very little change. The only reason we could potentially see change is if the legislature has adopted a school budget by June. It would have to be around June 19th for us to be able to get everything done in time. And then in December, if needed, we would take our first budget revision for the 2027 year. Typically, we do that just to true up where our ADM has fallen. If there has been any one-time funding added, we would come in then and clean up the budget so we have a more accurate picture at that point. Also, if ADE, if we do not hit our marks and they tell us we have to revise the budget, then the legislature says we have to come in and revise it. So we would do that at that time as well. So again, similar to what we looked at 2 weeks ago, the AEL for this current fiscal year that we're in, it's about $15.5 million. However, that has been exempted through 2027, so we know this current year we're in, and then next year that is not something that we will have to worry about, but it is something that just kind of hangs in the background and to keep in the back of your mind. We also know historically we have been declining around 300 students, so that is unweighted, so before we get the weights added for the different grades, so we will take into consideration a 300 student loss, the estimated 2% inflation for the base support level. That is the state at a minimum has to provide a 2% adjustment. That is provided they come in higher than 2%. And historically, we have gotten the less of the actual inflation or 2%. So we are anticipating, once again, 2%. Then we know we will be in the phase 2 reduction of the override, so $4.8 million coming off the budget. So we are taking that into consideration as well. And then the Arizona State Retirement System is making a slight decrease effective July 1. We're going down 0.02%. This year we're at 12%. Next year it will be 11.98%. That is something both the district pays and staff pay as well. Then looking for our M&O transfer to capital. So again, we have the middle school leases that we have to pay every year, that lease payment. That has to be paid from capital. It cannot be paid from M&O. So historically, we've been transferring $3.55 million out of M&O. Next year, we're going to drop that down to $3.25 million. We will use a little of the capital carry forward and then also the interest. We generate interest in the capital fund of which we can spend. So we're trying to take a little bit of pressure off M&O. So the top here, the 26th current revised budget, that is what I presented at the December 9th meeting. We had accounted for an additional 16.08 ADM loss above what we had predicted in June of 25. Again, this current year we are in now, we are transferring $3.55 million from M&O to capital for the lease payments. And then we also had $21.8 million that we carried over into this current year. So we are currently operating M&O at $118,869 million. Looking at 2027, again, we are projecting a 300 unweighted ADM loss. That is for Group A, and that equates to about $3.293 million if we weight in based on K-8 and then 9 through 12, the different weights we get for that. And then for a Group B, so those are our SPED, our K-3 reading, free and reduced funds we get, gifted, that we are projecting a loss of 292. So that adds on to that for our reduce of ADM. We also know we are phasing down the override, losing $4.8 million. Again, talked about the $3.25 million for the lease payments. And originally we had, when we spoke in June, we thought we would carry over $17 million, but we have had some extra funds with the one-time funds coming in that we had not budgeted for, and then just reduced spending this year. We're projecting $19 million that we will be able to carry forward from 26 into FY 27 for our budget balance carry forward. So that would give us a budget of just under $111 million. And compare that to where we were at last month in December, we will be down about $7.876 million. Fixed cost increases, so while we do get, again, we're anticipating a 2% increase, that revenue goes then against all of the cost for the district. So things like our insurance, health insurance, utilities, just day-to-day repairs that we need to make, supplies that we have to get from, say, Home Depot or Lowe's to continue repairing things. So right now, these are projected increases for property and casualty insurance. We're projecting an additional $175,000. Health insurance, while we met with our provider last week, they still don't have the numbers. They are anticipating mid-February having better numbers for us. However, they are warning us that we will have a significant increase in health insurance going into next year. Workers' comp, we're projecting going up $50,000. Utilities, we are going to increase $300,000. Right now, they're about $5 million, so we'll go up to about $5.3 million for utilities, which will include Gilbert with the water increase that they have. And then for our schools and departments, going into this year, 26, we had cut wherever we could last year. So going into 27, we are leaving them pretty stable and just going with what we had this year. So the total impact without including health insurance, we're looking at an increase of around $525,000 for fixed costs. This slide looks at the three options that have been presented for the use of budget balance carry forward. Again, we're projecting to have around $19 million. So if you look at option one, which is using the $3 million cut, that shows that we would bring our carry forward down to around 14 million. Knowing that if we had to cut 7.8, we cut 3, that would leave 4.8 that we're taking from carry forward. But again, that rolls into next year's budget, so we would have to address that again next year. We know the carry forward next year, or the override next year, will drop about 4.2 million. So you would have to add that in as well. And then we also, separate from the override, again, would be projecting the 300 ADM loss going into 28 at this point. That's what we're looking at. So, which is $3 million. So this is just kind of showing how if you did not take action and we just kept, for lack of a better word, kicking the can down the road, you could see how quickly we could drop down to option one would be, we'd have about $400,000 left of budget balance carry forward by FY29. Option two, we would have around 3 million, and option three would put us around 4 million. And again, just to stress, that would be if nothing was addressed and we just rolled forward and did not make any adjustments. We did not right size for ADM loss or anything. This is the timeline for the remaining M&O budget. We will take that on March 3rd. That will be the third and final review. Looking for tentative approval, as we will have our contracts needing to be sent out after March 15th. And then April 7th, we will take our first look at capital. And then on May 5th, it would be our second and final review of capital, looking for tentative approval on that one so we could get purchase orders in place for long lead items so the items could get here by the 1st of July and we could get some projects done. And with that, I will take any questions.
Any questions or comments from board before we move on to action items? No, good. Ms. Rushkamp, thank you very much. This brings us to action item 7.1, discussion and selection of budget option for the 2026-2027 school year. Mr. Lotzenheiser.
President Wade, members of the board, tonight's discussion is the culmination of an effort that we've started last year. And again, just to remind people, we had a community survey where we got input, we had a staff survey, and we had meet and confer process where we got input. We also had meetings with our administrators. And then on December 9th, you, as the governing board, provided priorities for us. Last board meeting on the 23rd, we presented 3 different options. And then we're asking for board action to be taken tonight on the 27th, where you determine which one of the options is what we're going to do moving forward. And so, you know, we've all seen this slide a few times before, but this just, again, shows the possibility of the decline of what's happening in terms of what we need to cut. Ms. Rushkamp just shared that you can see how quickly our carry forward does decline if we don't address anything. We are addressing all 3 of those options, address at least $3 million for this year. And so when we look at next year, we know we would have to continue to address situations, and we cannot just continue to take everything out of carry forward because it will disappear very quickly. However, with our carry forwards, you notice that we do have a $19 million carry forward this time, as well as $15 million in the classroom site fund, which has a limited use for what we could spend it on, but we'd like to spend it as we move forward. The priorities for the governing board, just to remind everyone as they came back, was to keep the elementary specials. So we had that in mind when we made these plans. Not to affect the current site program, for example, the Mandarin DLI. To look at option for raises for all employees. And last year, our employees, not every employee got any kind of compensation increase. There was a small amount to teachers only, but a lot of people did not see any compensation increases. To continue to make sure we're fiscally responsible and understand what the long-term impacts of the decisions that we're going to make for our board, for our school district are, and to spend down the carry forward. And ultimately, if we wanted to sum up everything tonight, what you're doing is picking an option that's giving me permission on how much of the carry forward you would like me to spend down in order to save different programs and positions within our district. So this is the same presentation that was presented before. I'm not going to talk about compensation right now. If you'll notice on your agenda, I split it into two different conversations. So the first conversation in this action item is only about what different reduction options we're going to talk about. The compensation discussion will be the next action item when we can talk about different possibilities for that as we look forward. But you'll notice option one is a $3 million reduction, and that includes 29 positions within instruction and support and 6 positions within admin and support. And for that total coming to around $3 million. Option two was $3.5 million reduction. You'll see increased numbers of instruction and support up to 37 positions, and that for admin and support, it would be 8.5 positions. For the total, that's going to bring us up to about $3.5 million within reductions. For option three, we have teacher and teacher support, an increased number of personnel up to 52 positions, and non-teachers within admin and support, 11.5 positions. One of the questions was asked was, in any of these options, is it all personnel? Yes, it is. These options are personnel. We looked at fixed costs. Ms. Rushkamp talked about the increases within that. We know we have to decline from there, but we did not change budgets as we felt like we did such a huge budget cut last year, and so we did not adjust budget cuts. Also within these options, we have not changed the teacher to student ratio within the classroom, and so those have remained, will remain consistent regardless of which of the options that you choose. We had a summary slide that kind of put it all together to allow you to look and see, of the 3 options that we looked at, how much would we anticipate taking out of our carry forward, and that's the bolded one. The reduction in pay, I did have to include an estimated pay, which is what I did last time, but that can fluctuate depending on the choices that you make in terms of compensation moving forward. So an estimated carry forward after the first reduction would be down to about 15.25 million, about 15.75 for option 2, and option 3 would still remain around $17.15 million within that carry forward. And I know that's going to be part of that discussion today, is where do we want to end on that carry forward, and that's really the decision you guys are making, and then we can put in place any of the 3 options that you moved forward. With the classroom site fund, we'll talk about that again when we get to compensation, but we want to take all the compensation for increases for any classroom site fund eligible employee directly out of that bucket instead of the M&O bucket. I think when we look at the different buckets that we have, M&O is a huge one, and we're trying what we can do to protect M&O right now, to maintain it for as long as possible, knowing we have these reductions coming forward. And therefore, if we can dig into the $15 million carry forward for classroom site fund for increases for people who are eligible, we want to put all of the increases in that bucket and not in M&O. So I appreciate all of the time, the 5 of you, as you came in and had individual meetings, and we were able to answer your questions as you moved forward, but I look forward to the discussion that you have and the decisions that you'll make tonight. So with that, I will turn it back over to you.
Do we have questions or comments from the board? Anybody would like to go? Go ahead.
President Wade. I would just like to go through my analysis of the options, just to break down what my thoughts are. When we look at all the options, I see option 1 as the most risky. It's the smallest reduction of $3 million against a known $7 million structural gap. That leaves $5.65 million in unresolved reductions after pay increases. And it relies heavily on our carry forward drawdowns. And I know we've discussed utilizing our carry forward, but this would be the biggest impact, and it effectively kicks the problem forward while we have enrollment that's declining. It's the highest fiscal risk, and pretty much this option is deferral, not discipline. And then when it comes to option 2, this is moderate risk, but still risky. Somewhat larger reduction of $3.5 million, but it still leaves us with $5.1 million of unresolved, that's unresolved after pay. It continues the structural imbalance, and then it also relies on optimism for future conditions when we can't guarantee what's going to happen. I think with option 2, it still postpones the inevitable. And then with option 3, I think this is the most conservative option and the least risky. Yes, it's the largest reduction of $4.9 million, directly addressing our reoccurring costs. Leaves the smallest gap of 3.7 after pay of 3.75. And then it builds the strongest buffer with continued ADM decline, healthcare cost increases, uncertainty with our state funding, and then facility and capital pressures. The most fiscally responsible option for me is option 3. And, you know, that's not, when I say that, that's not because I don't care about the district or, you know, my intention is to ensure that we are making the best financial decision for the district, and to say anything otherwise, I believe, is disingenuous. We're facing clearly a structural deficit driven by declining enrollment, and this is not a temporary shortfall, and we need to keep that in mind. As far as risk management is concerned, option 1 and 2 leaves millions of unresolved, guaranteeing deeper cuts later. And when we look at our taxpayers, which is our role here as board members to represent our taxpayers, you know, families and taxpayers are expected to live within their means, and we need to look at doing the same and ensuring that we have fiscal discipline to protect programs in the future. And long-term stability is more important than short-term comfort, and we need to make sure that we are making the best decision possible looking at long-term. And that's all I've got. Thank you.
Me? Sure. Thanks so much. President Wade. Yes, option 1 is more risky. I would ideally pay teachers well and just kind of make sure that our spending in general is kind of lower, since we are we are nervously going into a decline of our finances. So I'm all about moving up the teachers, I'll be honest, but I also am good at meeting, people and working with people where they're at. But I'm edging more towards option 3 if we can get there, but I'm willing to compromise at option 2. And I get that's frustrating, but I feel like potentially it'll be, we like a little bit more money in our pocket. It really covers us as a district and provides safety in those funds. But I know it's a hard pill to swallow, but I'm leaning more towards 3 and then possibly to compromise at 2.
Madam President. Well, I rise in strong support of option number 1. I think it's the least disruptive. I think it has the least negative impact on the people who are attending our schools and working in our schools. I also want to point out that this money, a lot of it is in salaries and benefits, and a lot of that stays here in our community. And so there's what's called the velocity of money in economics, and so there's a multiplying effect of these, so that's good for the community. For me, cutting 63 jobs on an already strained staff that's being asked to do more and more each and every single day with less and less and less is not something that I support. I heard Mr. White talk earlier, and I agree with him. I still pledge to be optimistic. I don't think we can really survive and be a good school district without the additional funding of an override. So I will continuously advocate for that and hope for that and work to build trust in the community and support. And I appreciate people who come and advocate and talk about increasing awareness and the importance of that need for funding. So I will continue to advocate for that, but I am in strong support of item number 1, which is largely attrition. And so our teachers can continue coming to work, and staff can come to work and provide the good services and work that they do for our children. So option 1 is my strong vote.
President Wade. I'm sorry, my voice is a little bit shaky today, but no matter what, we're kicking the can down the road. In 3 years, we won't have enough money. Even with lower enrollment, we still don't get enough money from the state. Excuse me. We still don't get enough money from the state, and we still don't have enough money to cover our funds and take care of our programs and the amazing programs, including the Mandarin program that was spoken about earlier. It's difficult for me to say, let's lose multiple people and cut jobs and cut programs. I don't think option 1, because of the fact we're just going to have to kick it down the road next year. I'm not sure. I mean, it depends on how the board votes, but it depends on the district. But I don't know that I see us going out for an override next year just because of our community and the way we might need a little bit of a break. I don't know what that looks like yet, but I can't bet on that. And I'm not comfortable with option 1, and that's why I'm leaning towards option 2.
I appreciate everyone's perspective here. I've been accused of lecturing, so I wish to be very clear, this is how I feel. I struggle to identify the risk of option 1. The reason I struggle to identify that is what's the harm immediately. I agree, no matter what, we have problems in our future. This is apparent. We sat up here, we had board members express the reason that overrides have failed is because we haven't spent down our carry forward. And yet, when the time comes, we go, no, don't do that. I struggle to understand what choices we should make then. If we're here to listen to what the community is saying, and the community is saying is you have the money, so spend it, then okay, community, we will do that. And that's what this looks like. I struggle to understand, and I agree with you, Mr. Glover, in that we are doing things well. We are doing them well. So why would we come in and blow that up? That seems bonkers to me. I also go, the world is bonkers. We've had in the past few days, our state, our own, Horn release that we had, 8,500 staff members across the Arizona who have left teaching. 71% of them were for things like burnout. These are real problems. And at the end of the day, your child's education is directly dependent on the person in front of them. That's how this works. right? This is why you have some people who do well with ESAs, and when middle school and high school comes around, you end up putting in them in our schools, right? It's why some people choose charter schools over public education based off the things that you have, and we have those choices to be able to do that. At the end of the day, here in Higley, we are doing well. And I recognize that there is risk in that next year we may be having to do a very large cut, and I am aware of that. And I also recognize that my year is up. And so I may not be the one making those decisions next year. And that's okay as well, in that other folks have the opportunity to do that. But here's what I truthfully believe in my heart. It's probably part of the reason why I chose this profession to begin with. I believe in people, and I believe in community. I believe in hope. And I go, the state has problems they are aware of. They just last year gave us one-time funding, yes, of millions of dollars randomly, and that may happen next year. You're right, there are no guarantees. We have no guarantee other than what we are making our decision on right now. And I can guarantee you every single one of these decisions will impact your child in a negative way. Every single one. Whether that one person happened to be the club sponsor that was doing that, and now your kid's club is gone. That matters. That impacts the outcome of things. From a staff perspective, you now have a less staff member, a para, for example, to help you in your class in which you have a high number of IEP kids or 504 kids or English language learners, in which not having a para is difficult. Because now when there's an issue, it takes you 25 minutes instead of somebody else doing something, and you guys divide and conquer. That's the purpose of paras. Yes, to help the students who need them so the teachers can focus on other things. Every single one of these decisions is going to cause harm. And every single one of these decisions, not a single person up here knows what our choice will mean. We will only know this in hindsight, and we all may make the wrong decision here today, but I will choose people, always. And I recognize the difference between option 1 and option 2, and ultimately, if we need to move the needle, we may have to settle somewhere. But I go, who knows what tomorrow will bring? We have an election coming up in November. We have a state superintendent who is up, governor, etc. Every single legislative seat. Who knows what our state legislature will look like next year? And maybe we have people who go, hey, we have been saying these problems in public education are here, and now they start funding us. And so then next year we go, oh my God, we don't actually have to make these cuts, and we can continue to do the things. Or next year we all sit here and go, this is miserable. And we make cuts that are going to cause harm. I do not understand why, if there is no forcing us in this moment, knowing people on this own dais have advocated to spend down the carry forward, not doing it. I don't. Especially when you say we want trust within the community, then we are going to do what it is that we're going to say that we do, right? Like I don't really understand, and I agree. I will, to my every waking breath, figure out how to get the community of Higley to understand that we are a community and we are better together. For those of you who don't have kids, you are better when our schools are better. That's just flat out facts. None of us want to pay taxes, but yet all of us benefit from the things that these taxes go to. Not only are we talking about kids, which objectively doesn't matter if you have them or not. I think we all should be like, yeah, kids are great. We should do the best for them that we can. But if you are not, and you go, well, I don't really like it. They're not my kids. I don't care. I don't have them. My kids are gone. Your house still benefits from your schools being successful and strong, flat out, every time. Especially at a time for those of us who are desiring to leave or move houses and all of that, it's a difficult time to sell a home. People can be choosy if they're choosing to and figure out where to go. I don't understand. We say no guarantees in everything. This is our means. You say we need to have fiscal discipline. It is because of fiscal discipline that we are in this position, that we can choose something as an opportunity to kick it down the road. And I, again, understand that kicking around the road means it's somebody else's problem. But I still choose people here today, and by that I choose our students. I choose what is best for them, what is Higley doing well, and that is staff currently. And a year from now, when I am wrong, and you go see, and nobody at the state continues to fund public ed, or we find ourselves still here with a community who does not seem to understand how amazing we are, then we make the hard decisions when we have to. I don't believe that's today.
President Wade, yes. Thank you for those comments. I agree. The one thing I wanted to add is option 1, all of them, give us a balanced budget, which is our obligation to do. So option 1 balances the budget. We're not overspending. if you look at slide 6 of what Ms. Rushkamp presented, there is a cliff. It's not this year. So that gives us time to take serious time and deliberation to identify future cuts if they need to be. The carry forward is going to run out at some point. It will not run out with option 1 next year, or even the year after that. But meanwhile, we can still work towards override or figure out what we don't need anymore or what we don't want anymore. So option 1 still satisfies the requirements that we're placed with, and so I would encourage my fellow board members to consider option 1 as the least disruptive and least negative impact on our schools.
President Wade, I'm just going to go for it. I move to approve budget option number.
We can't make decisions based on hope and optimism and what ifs. We need to do it based on facts. And when you are wrong down the road, I can guarantee that the guilt trip on the community is going to be even worse. And as somebody with 20 plus years experience in finance, I get it. I understand this math, and based on my experience and based on my expertise, my recommendation is option 3, because yes, I've said let's use the override, and we are, but we're also giving us the time to be able to not impact our classrooms. These options, they're not impacting our classroom sizes. They're not cutting any programs, which is great, and we're able to do that. But with declining enrollment, any other option than 3, you're looking at cutting programs next year. With option 1, you will for sure be cutting programs next year. And that's not fair to our community, because you have hope and optimism. I'm dealing based on facts and based on the numbers in front of us that were provided to us, all the numbers, not just what was presented, but looking at our spending, looking at everything. And in a period of sustained enrollment decline, our fiduciary responsibility is to align recurring expenditures with recurring revenue. And any other option, I'm telling you, will make a bigger impact on our students and our staff next year. And option 1 absolutely will be a disaster financially, and I'm not willing to gamble with taxpayer money.
So let's talk facts. Ms. Rushkamp. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
President, can you elaborate on how option 1 would be a disaster? I fail to see it.
That's what I explained.
One of the arguments, I believe, is that you wanted us to use our carry forward previously. Correct. So, but now you're advocating against using the carry forward. I'm just trying to understand.
Right. Absolutely, I advocated for using our carry forward, but I didn't say let's use it all at once. And that's what's going to require, because we have $7.8 million gap that she showed in the previous presentation. In order to fill that, we're going to have to draw down our carry forward much quicker than we would with option 3. Because we'll have a larger carryover with option 3, so we won't have to use it as quickly as we would with option one. And with option one, I mean, yes, okay, with all the options, we are kind of moving it down the road, but with option one, we will see cuts in our programs and staff if that's the option that we go with. And we made the decision that we don't want to cut programs, but with the gap that we're looking at, we're going to have no choice but to do that next year.
You wish to, I'm sorry, Ms. Schultz, you were, okay, great. Speak with facts. No, that's not true. We will not be forced to do these cuts next year, especially considering the fact that we have just discussed what our carry forward looks like right now. Might we next year have to make the same decision to look at carry forward instead of choosing to do more cuts? Yes, that is fair. Something else I wish to clarify as far as facts. $3 million come from ADM loss. Every single year, and I know I feel like a broken record because I've said it so many times, every single year we readjust staff, every single year, based off student loss. Every year, this is literally required to be done because based off the total number of students we have at each of our campuses determines how many paid full-time staff that campus gets. That's how this works. Okay? And so that ADM loss that we will have to address, we are continuing to address, and that is something that we will have to continue to reconcile with. That is facts. Okay? But that is done because we staff per the students that we have. If we choose option one, option two, or option three, we are still capable, looking at our budgets with what we have, and Ms. Rushkamp, you can correct me if I'm wrong, we've listened to multiple presentations on this, we will have the money to be able to still have the following budget year after that. It's the next 2 years that we can do easily. It's year 3 that things start to get scary, yes? Absolutely correct. Now, might we, if we choose option one, kick the can down the road and we have to then look at every other staff member, that's the difference between option one and option 3 next year? That is facts. That is. But meaning that means a loss of programs or that means a loss of things, that is not what that is at the present moment in time. And that is not what we are talking to you about currently and what next year looks like. Because we, as a community, have talked about and have done everything we can to express our programs are the most important. And our staff agrees with this. Our programs are the most important. So right now, our programs are the things that we are shielding the most. It is staff we are looking at currently. And might we have to look at doing different things for class sizes and all of that? Yes. I still do not understand the risk that means we are creating more of a problem for ourselves next year, other than the reality that we may have to cut folks. And so if your question is, we either cut them now or next year, I choose next year. I choose next year. And the reason I choose next year is because who knows what next year will bring us. Come November when we vote and we have opportunity to look at different things, who knows what next year will bring us? So why do we look at the staff who agreed to no raise last year, who are still showing up every day, who have moved all of our schools up to A's and are consistently doing the work, and say if we don't have to right now, I just choose to, because it feels safer. Right now the world is unsafe. There is no guarantee for so many things. So why not choose people? And I will always choose hope. And if you get mad at me, community, in a year from now, again, I still don't understand why you're angry at me. I didn't vote no on this override. I haven't campaigned against it, and I will always choose community, always, because I'm a part of this world, and I see my neighbors, and I see their kids, and I love watching them grow. I love all of the new things that happen, and I choose to be a member of this community. And maybe over the course of the next year, as the world continues to change and people start reaching out for community because we need it, then we find it. And we somehow come together next year and we don't have to do any of this. I can't, there is no 5-alarm fire at the present moment in time when we have the opportunity to do that. It does not make sense. It does not compute. Why would I blow up what is working well when we don't have to? Doesn't make sense.
President Wade, you mentioned in the beginning, you continue to yell and lecture our community members, yet you expect them to support us, and that's part of the problem. But with option 1 and 2, literally it's like we're using a credit card and calling it a plan, and that's not a plan. And it might feel easier now, but guarantees that there's going to be pain later. So we can, I move to call the vote.
I can motion it, but Mr. Glover has his up. I just wish to express, especially with 20 years of finance, this would be savings, not a credit card. This is savings, not a credit card. It won't cost more than what we have. That is a very different aspect. Now, to be clear, from a finance perspective, it does not feel great to blow up your savings, which is why we went for an override. It's why we did it.
Point of order.
No. Yeah,
I did make a
she would need a
motion.
second, right? Because I'm not done. I have another comment to make. She would need a second, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Hearing none. May I go? Okay, thank you. Can you please pull up slide 8, please, that has the carry forward after reduction, so everyone can see what we're talking about? Because I feel like I'm gobsmacked sometimes at some of the comments, especially like that we're using a credit card. We are not allowed to go into the negative balances. We'd be in receivership. It's an absurd comment for someone that's an elected official to make. So if you look at slide 6, the line that says carry forward after reduction, with option 1, we are still carrying forward $15.25 million. Option 2, 15.75 and 17.15 million. I don't see doom. I don't see the chicken little, the sky is falling in those scenarios. Again, I don't like the idea of option 2, 45.5 staff, 63 staff. Option 1 is largely unfilled positions or positions that attrition can take care of. It's the least restrictive. We can be deliberate. We can take our time over the next year to mitigate some of these future pending losses, but I'm not willing to take a hatchet. These are people that work at our schools, and I'm just not willing to. With as much carry forward, I'm option 1 is where I am for this year.
Yeah, I just want to say I understand where you're coming from, and I leaned largely towards option 1, I'm sorry, in the beginning. I do think that option 2 is still a lot of attrition based on our numbers and what we have in the vacancies and being able to spend down our carry forward and still have enough. I also worry if there is something catastrophic and what that looks like for our carry forward, and so that makes me nervous as well. But I do also think that that option 2 doesn't impact our students and our programs. And like I said, with next year's uncertainty, I just feel more comfortable with option 2.
Real quick. Ms. Rushkamp, the graph that you showed in the 6.1, where it showed where our carry forward would be, and what was the amount with option 1?
Well, that was if we did nothing. So if we took the loss for this year and used like 4.85 million out of carry forward, but then carried that into next year, we did not account for loss of ADM. We did not account for what we did not take care of this year. Then that would bring us down to less than $1 million. But again,
and that's
be unrealistic because we are adjusting for ADM every year for our loss, and then we are also going out and looking at fixed costs that we know, and also just where we're going to be comfortable.
Okay. So again, option 1 is what we would be looking at if we did nothing.
No, that's
Or-
still,
That
option one
includes,
is,
so that's the options that we're looking at, though.
option one was the, yes, the 3 million, yes.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, in 2029 is the end of this chart. I don't know if people can see that or not, but the first little block is fiscal year 2027, and then there's 2028, and the end point of your graph is 2029.
All right, we're just going to test it out. President Wade, I move to approve budget option number 3 for the 2026 through 27 school year.
That would be Ms. Van Hook seconding. All those in favor, hold on, I need to write first.
I'm working.
Oh, nice, did it come up?
It says I successfully voted, but I didn't touch anything. Successfully voted, but I didn't touch anything. I just want to make sure. Oh,
Okay.
I'll hit it right now, but I just wanted to make sure.
So, all those in favor for,
It took it? Okay.
no, I'm asking for the votes right now, I was just letting whatever
She
that.
needs your vote.
Well, for
Yeah.
option 3.
Yeah.
Well, I know, but I was gonna say it and then do the whatever, that's fine.
Okay.
And the little box went away. Do you have yours?
I'm good.
Great. Okay, so the motion for selecting budget option number 3 has 2 yay votes to 3 nay votes, so motion did not pass. Go ahead.
I would
Mr.
like to
Glenn.
motion for option number 1 then, please.
All right. Oh, I don't have. Oh, that's fair. Well, listen, I am, yeah, I mean, we can second it, and then we'll just do all of it, like a delightful little crowd. I will second the option for budget number 1. So all those in favor of budget number 1, cast your votes in the little machine. There we go. I think mine will go away again. Yeah. Motion fails. 2 yes votes and 3 nay votes. Ms. Schultz, do you want to make your motion?
I mean, I'd like to motion that we choose motion for option number 2.
Second.
Ms. Jarman is seconding. Hold on a second. I've got to mark all of these down. Okay, then the third would be. So Ms. Jarman seconded. All those in favor of selecting budget option number 2?
I'd like to explain my vote.
Can we wait until everybody has voted at the very least? So
I
we
didn't
understand?
even get to vote, and it voted yes for me.
I haven't even voted either. To be clear, I'm not saying what my vote is one way or the other, but I did not vote.
Mine was wrong too.
Oh yeah, like it chose for me, apparently.
Is it the old ones?
I don't know, it just showed it for a second and then it went away, so.
That,
Okay, great.
That one is, that's showing there.
Can I explain my vote? I don't know what we're doing.
I don't see it yet.
I know, I'm just deciding how I'm voting here, folks. I apologize. I am aware, I just. Go ahead, Ms. Van. Well, have you not voted yet?
I have not.
I'll go ahead and explain away.
I will support option number 2 with with the acknowledgement that we need to ensure that we're looking at our expenses and ensuring that our expenses match our revenue, and that where we can make, I know at the last meeting I've talked about possible, looking at travel and not, spending thousands of dollars on Vegas trips and things like that. And so, I want to make sure that we're going to make proper decisions when it comes to our expenses so that we're not blowing through what would be our savings as quickly. That's all. Thank you.
Motion carries with 4 yeas and 1 nay. In interest of governance, I wish to express, as we move forward with what our budgeting is, we do this constantly. To the staff, for the decisions and the choices that just made, even though considering I voted for 2 as well, even though I'm in support of 1. We appreciate the things that you have done for Higley and the things that you continue to do. I would like to reiterate Mr. Glover's point earlier for those of you who know that you are retiring or you're moving on, those types of things, as we continue with our discussions on the things that impact staff here today. (7.2) Discussion and selection of compensation increase for the 2026-2027 school year. Mr. Lotzenheiser.
President Wade, members of the board, like I said earlier, I separated the discussion from the reduction options to then compensation increases, and have a small presentation for you tonight. The first one is with classroom site fund eligible employees out of the classroom site fund. Again, this is teachers and people who are eligible determined by the state of Arizona who we can pay out of there. We do have a $15 million carry forward. What I'm asking is that we look at the classroom site fund specifically, and instead of taking more money out of M&O, as we're already reducing the M&O carry forward, that we would reduce the carry forward more specifically out of the classroom site fund. I put different percentages up there. I used 2 as an example from before. If I were to advocate for any of these, I would advocate for a 3% increase for our employees for all of these different values, as we had no increases last year. We had a small one for teachers, but most of our employees got no increase. And so I think that that would show our employees support from there. The non-classroom site fund hourly employees, as I discussed, the 3% raise is going to be necessary for 72, as that was one of the questions from the board. We had 72 different people that would fall below minimum wage in next January. And so we would need to be bumping those 72 people up further. But I think it's important that we recognize the work of all of our employees and be able to do that with a 3%. And then the non-classroom site fund exempt, that's the maintenance and operations budget. Again, exempt means employees that are on salary that are not eligible for overtime and do not have to clock in or clock out. And it's not just administration, but administrative support as well. And there are a lot of different positions within the district. When we look at those different things, I think when we value our employees and all of the different employees that we do, I think it's nice for us to value them at an equal percentage than it would be by differentiating between different groups. Just to help clarify the classroom site fund, currently, I tried to do the best I could showing a chart that said, hey, where would this money come from? So this is an example, top example right now. Let's say someone has coming out of an M&O base salary, $50,000. The CSF base salary, and we use that term base salary, and there's a lot of different ways for us to describe it. For me, a base salary is monies that is spread out throughout the entire year. So that would be paid over the 22 to 24 different paychecks, as opposed to a stipend or a supplemental that might come out of a one-time This is spread out, and our teachers see this throughout all the entire year. Currently, our teachers, our CSF eligible people, receive $8,597 out of the classroom side fund. That's spread out all throughout the year. In this example, the total base salary would then be $58,597. If we applied the 3%, that goes up to $1,757.91. And that all of that increase, which is what the bottom one would be, would come out of classroom side fund. We would not be affecting the M&O at all. It would not be reducing the M&O carry forward or anything. It would be reducing the $15 million that we have sitting in the classroom side fund and coming out of that. I don't know if that's the best way to explain it. I went through this about 20 times with the staff to try to figure out what's the easiest way to explain it when it's kind of a complicated thing where budgets and things come out of different buckets. But in this example, I'm just trying to show you where we would come out of the classroom side fund, and all of that money would come out of the classroom side fund. So again, as we go through this process, or you guys will have the discussion of each of the different groups, it is the recommendation from us that we look at a 3% increase for all of our employees to be consistent. Thank you.
Do we have comments from board before we do our first motion?
I just wanted to, President Wade, I apologize, Superintendent, cover that minimum wage. You said that would require a 3%. Did I hear that right?
Correct. And so when we had employees that, in looking at it, we had people that when the minimum wage increases next January, their salary, if we don't increase it, would be less than minimum wage. And in order for us to get their HR looked at and said, if we do 2%, it doesn't get them to minimum wage, so we would have to come back and increase them anyway, where 3% would at least get them over minimum wage.
Okay, thank you so much. With the budgets, I felt a lot more confident in option number 3 to give raises and stuff like that. So I'm just going to kind of have to scale back a little bit. Is my feeling on that. So I'm leaning more towards 2 and maybe admin, the last topic, more at a 1%. But I really, you guys, I really want to support the teachers, especially the teachers in the classroom and the supportive staff and all that kind of stuff, because it really, we saw the press release why teachers are leaving this occupation. And it is, it's a big ask. And so as a district, I really want to encourage people, parents support those teachers, really kind of step in. This is a really kind of reining back that we have, and we're putting a lot of, staff and such in kind of more of a tricky situation. So really, parents, do what you can to help assist your students at home, help them to stay on top of that. And then admins, if there's more, behavior is another big topic with teachers that really kind of gets them burnt out. So the more that we can have admin come in and help with behavior, etc. I'm sure some of us have been, preaching a lot of this stuff, but I really want to, we've got to kind of streamline a little bit more and just really kind of step more into our roles and really support that classroom as much as we can. But yeah, I'm leaning more towards those percentages.
President Wade, it's difficult to talk about cuts and then in the next second talk about compensation increase. However, it is important to show our teachers and our staff how much we value them, and understanding what fund the majority of the raises would come from the classroom site fund. I realize there's a small amount that wouldn't, but it's important to make all staff understand or feel important, or know we believe they're important. So understanding that, and also talking with district and finance just about how far we can sustain that with the classroom site fund and the amount of money that we have in that, then I would support the 3% raise.
So considering the fact that I voted for option 2, which means that's about $500,000 of carry forward that we get to keep, and we did not give raises next year, I absolutely am advocating for the highest amount in that, Our teaching staff, this comes out of Classroom Site Fund, so it is a different pot in which we are adding to that we can essentially sustain, and that's one of the reasons that we've talked about it. I also understand it, Mr. Lotzenheiser, that we had meet and confer, and I recognize that with our previous times that we've had meet and confer when it came to raises and those types of things, and the staff and our teaching staff took the time to recognize and honor the work that non-certified staff do and why they are just as important. And so I would like to advocate to maybe honor what meet and confer discussed, since we chose option 2 with respect to the non-certified staff, essentially support staff in that, so that would be a 3-4-3 situation. For those of you who look at admin and say things like administration doesn't need that, I struggle with this as a teacher, to be clear, because it is painful to know how much somebody gets paid more than you do, especially when you're like, where are you, and you don't see them. I recognize all of those things. But admin is more than just our principals, right? Admin is a lot of other folks who also didn't get a raise last year as well. And to Ms. Schultz's point, it is hard to make cuts and then turn around and give raises. I do believe those cuts can come through attrition, and I do believe that that is a possibility in terms of staff move, change, all of that regularly. I don't see how we do anything less than 3. I don't. Inflation at the rate things are, and when you have other districts that are equally cutting staff as well as other districts, we're one of the only districts that didn't pass an override, delightful. This means our staff has places to go. We talked about there are 8,500 open positions. What this means is if you're a teacher, you can go pretty much anywhere for the most part. We should recognize that as a district who employs staff, and what we can do to get staff to come here. We also have Chandler, who's right next door, Gilbert, and Mesa in terms of overrides. Queen Creek passed theirs the year before. So when it comes to that being with minimum wage salary next January, minimum wage may not cut it in terms of filling positions that we need to fill and keeping us an attractive position. If we had $500K that we are not spending, going from option 1 to option 2 now, I do the maths, and the additional percent for that position is less than that. It's roughly half, right? Because it's 226 at 1 additional percent. So that's where I'm at.
President Wade, I would just wonder what that would look like, how long that would last, and if that was an option, why the district did choose not to present that to us. I mean, not critiquing, I'm just asking the question.
I think always when you look at relative compensation increases and relative increases across the board, I think it's hard when you look at one group and say we're going to give you more than the other because we value your position differently than we value something else. Yet I know amounts are differently. However, at the same time, I believe that for consistency's sake, we are, for lack of a better, a team. We are together. We do have, and when you're consistent and applying rules to all the people consistently, I think that also sends a strong message that we're together in how we apply the different rules. I think it's, to go through the idea, and I think I discussed this with each one of the members when you came in, for administration works significantly number of more days than a teacher does. Therefore, their pay is going to be increased. Now, when we look at the hourly rate of pay on average between an administrator and a teacher, it's about $3 an hour. And that's because they are in leadership positions. There is more, and they do more time during the day. But from my perspective, when you look at a group of individuals, all of our employees together, please remember this does not include me. I signed a 3-year contract that said I will not get a raise for 3 years. There will be no compensation increase for me, so I don't have any proverbial skin in the game because it's not going to affect my salary. And so when I look at that, I think it's important that we recognize the work that all 3 of our different components do to support our district and make us the place that we are.
President Wade, I don't know if it shows it on this slide, but I'm grateful to know what funds these salaries are coming out of. Classroom site funds, that I feel is being supported a little stronger. I really don't want to dampen that M&O. So I'm grateful for that the CSF eligible employees, that's more the classroom site fund. So I'm going to confidently do that more at the 3. I feel that teachers are deserving, you know, it's the nature of the beast. We really have to keep our good teachers here. And I didn't realize how competitive other districts are and how hard it is to actually keep good. That's something that I kind of was a stark reality when I came in here, and thanks to all the learning that I've learned. So I am confident. I was leaning more towards it too, since we didn't get more. But since that's based out of that classroom site fund, I am more confident in that being a 3. And then obviously we got to hit that minimum wage, right? Because then it's technically against the law, right? Did I say that right? But yeah, if we can, I don't know, the non-CSF, I just really get nervous about dipping in that M&O. So I'm not 100% decided on there.
One thing I would like to point out to you, Ms. Jarman, as well, with respect to admin and our non-certified staff as well, it is just as competitive for them. So keeping good admin, and I think you can see it when you go on our campuses, especially when you see admin that have been there for a while, admin that have created the type of community that they have created on their campuses, and what that looks and feels like when you're on a campus. And so I think, again, it is important to keep in mind there are so many aspects to what make our schools great. And that includes maintenance and operations, right? It includes people who go and do the yard work to make sure that we trim up some of those things as well. Like, there is literally every aspect of our employees from top to bottom that help make Higley what it is. And so, you know, it is competitive everywhere. And we exist in the real world. And so at the end of the day, we have to behave as if we exist in the real world.
President Wade, you know, I've been advocating to get more money into the classroom, and I want to ensure that our teachers are compensated. And I would support a 3% raise for our teachers, and then with the staff, especially with minimum wage, you know, that has to occur as well, although I would like to, I know one of the questions was that need more time to gather that information, but I would like to know what that dollar amount is for the 70-some employees to get them to the compliance baseline, and then to know what the discretionary increase would be on top of that. You know, and it's not that I don't appreciate the work that admin does, and all the individuals that are involved in the last category, but when you look at a percentage increase utilizing our M&O and their staff that make, you know, 6-figure salaries, and when you look at that in a percentage, that is much higher than what we would see our teachers getting at their salary level at a 3% rate. So I would also consider doing a 1% there to ensure, again, that we're being fiscally responsible.
Well, it seems as if for the first option, classroom site fund eligible staff, that we're in agreement unless there is something else. And so we can maybe at least motion for the ones that we know we can accomplish before we debate what this looks like. So I motion to approve a 3% increase in compensation for classroom site fund eligible staff effective for the 2026-2027 school year.
Second.
That would be Ms. Jarman is seconding. Please vote via your little portal, folks. I still am at a 4% is what I would like to advocate for. I recognize I may be alone in that, and so I'm willing for folks to discuss what we're looking at in terms of the non-CSF hourly staff members that we're looking at the present.
Madam President.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Mr. Glover, go ahead.
No,
It's a battle of I'm just going. I'm not sure that you're alone in that, in the 4% increase. I just don't know that is that an option that we're able to do tonight with it out not being on the agenda?
I mean, because we're still talking about the same thing, but legal.
That's where my...
Madam President, Board Member Schultz, the agenda item just says discussion and selection of compensation increase. It doesn't specify the amount.
Are 3 different motions, okay?
Sorry, I realized my microphone was off. We broke up all 3 positions into separate votes. So the first one we did was for essentially staff that is CSF available. And right now we're on the second option, which would be the non-certified staff, support staff.
President Wayne, so I'm sorry, just so I can understand, you're asking for 4% increase for whom?
That would be the non-CSF hourly folks. So right now, next January, it's going to go up. If we do 3%, that would be at minimum wage. So essentially 4% would mean come next January when minimum wage has gone up, we're above that or competitive. Does that make sense? Is that what?
Uh-huh.
Okay, great.
President Wade, Ms. O'Neill. So the presentation only offers 3 choices. So to add an additional choice that's not on the agenda, how is that not out of, I mean, we only have 3%.
Madam President, Member Van Hook, I believe those are administration's recommendations, but your agenda is not so specific to say a 3% increase.
And
thank you.
Just okay.
Thank you. So you are also, I just want to let you know you're not alone. So these folks did not receive an increase this past year. They are amongst some of our lowest paid employees. As we know, the dollar isn't as valuable, doesn't go as far as it did 2 years ago. And insurance costs are going to eat up a huge, probably a large portion of hourly, our lower paid hourly wages. So yeah, if you make a motion for 4%, I would support that.
All right, I'm going to, I motion to approve a 4% increase in compensation for non-CSF hourly staff effective for the 2026-2027 school year.
Second.
That would be Mr. Glover is seconding. Not showing. It was 3-2. Okay. Motion carries with 3 yeas to 2 noes. Sorry, it's not popping up, so I don't know what I have done to remove that. But
It disappeared for me too. I only saw the 3-2.
Okay. Thanks for looking out. This brings us to the third option, which would be administrative staff. One thing I would like to say, and I'll let everybody have their piece before somebody motions, in terms of I'm going to be in favor of a 3%. We did not give admin a raise last year, and conservatively, inflation looks like 2%, and we all know it's above that at the present moment in time. So again, I am in favor of a 3%.
President Wade, oh my word, this is very challenging because I feel like this is just tapping into the budget, but it's a worthy cause, but I'm still leaning more towards the 1%, 1 to 2%, especially since that non-CSF got increased to 4%. So that's where I'm at. Thank you.
President Wade. Admin is important, and having good admin is important. That starts at the top and then trickles all the way down to the bottom. And so I know that we've already lost some people since I've been in office because of receiving more funds in other places. And they can go pretty much anywhere in the state or the country at this point with education or in another field. And I don't want to lose good people, nor do I want them to think that we value them less. So I'm in favor of the 3% raise.
Madam President. So, you know, when you've just 45.5 jobs, some of which were administrative jobs, means that fewer administrators are going to be doing more. So I support a 3% raise.
Mr. Glover, President Wade, that is another good point, that we have lost several over, and we know several people are doing multiple jobs than they were in previous years as well.
President Wade, especially with you guys just increasing that to 4%, I can't support another 3% in M&O funds towards that. I mean, these are permanent, reoccurring costs. So financially, I don't think that that's a appropriate option.
I just want to be clear on the last one. It's literally small cents, like just 20 cents per hour. I don't have the exact number in front of me, but it's a very small portion, between 3 and 4%, that I think could help the people that are making that greatly, especially with knowing how the economy currently is.
Yeah, so the chart's not up there. The 1% is 226 with the 6 repeating. And the difference between option 1 and option 2 on the budget plan was a difference of $500,000 from carry forward. So at the end of the day, it is still less than that difference, that 1% change. Go ahead, Ms. Van Hook.
No.
Does anybody have any other questions before? All right, well, I'm going to motion at 3%. I motion to approve a 3% increase in compensation for non-CSF exempt staff effective for the 2026-2027 school year.
Second.
That would be Mr. Glover seconding. Okay. I don't even think my box note is showing up. Did yours? Okay. That motion carries 3-2. This brings us to item 7.3, approval of 2026-2027 board meeting dates. Any questions or comments from the board before I motion?
Just one, Madam President. The October 13th meeting, just to confirm, is we're going to try to keep that largely to budget, right?
Yes,
the October 13th meeting?
Board Member Glover, that's the one that's during the middle of break, and yes, we will, and especially by putting one then down on the 27th. There's a nice gap between the 22nd of September and the 27th, so we will try to make it, because we know it does inconvenience people while they're out on break, and so if we can keep it short and make sure that we're passing the budget, as well as it provides our finance team with as much time as possible to get that done.
Appreciate you guys taking that and doing that. Thanks.
I also appreciate the move for the election night to not have one on election night. I think that's just a smart choice, so I appreciate that as well. Do you have a comment before we motion? Anybody else need to speak their piece? Okay, great. Where are we at in 7.3? I motion to approve the 2026-2027 board meeting dates as presented. That would be Ms. Jarman is seconding. I saw that one. Motion carries 5-0. This brings us to 7.4, approval of overnight and/or out-of-state staff travel, ACDA. Any questions or comments from the board before I motion? Explain. Sure. I motion to approve the staff travel to American Choral Directors Association, ACDA conference.
Second.
Thanks for the save, Mr. Glover. All right.
President Wade, I'd like to explain my vote. After doing some research on this organization, I again cannot support the organization using taxpayer dollars based on their DEI statement. Thank you.
Go ahead.
I'm just going to kind of make a statement about DEI. The most frustrating thing about it, I'm grateful that the district has the teachers sign these waivers that saying that they won't attend these classes. And I also like to think of it as they're adults, they will take what content is appropriate for them, etc. And that these professional developments, there are aspects of it that is good. But overall, I want teachers not to worry about this other hat that they have to put on, basically, in a way, to have an object. But the one thing is and it was a big part of why I ran, is because I was seeing kind of the negative outcroppings of these concepts. And so teachers, I just want you to remember, you've been including kids in your classrooms for years, and etc. You always try to find that wiggle room, try to relate to those kids. So you're pretty much doing what I think DEI's good in a way is attempting to do. So teachers, I just want you to do what you do best and keep doing your magic in those classrooms, and to not worry so much about these extra, hot topics and such. So that explains more my vote. Our teachers are adults, and I think that they can choose what's best and take what's best, and just keep doing rocking what you're doing. You guys are doing great.
Thank you for that, Ms. Jarman. Ms. Zimmerman, where is it? Okay, great. Motion carries 4-1. Thank you. Thanks, Ms. Schultz. We're going to have to figure that out after this. 7.5, authorization of Salt River Project distribution easement. Any questions or comments before I motion?
I thought there's somebody here from...
President Wade, we do have a member from Salt River Project here, Miss Christy Burke, and she's here to answer the board's questions. Please step up.
Thank you.
She has waited patiently.
I appreciate that.
Is it all right if I introduce myself? Okay. Board president, members, and leadership, staff, thank you for your time tonight. I'm sure many of you have had a longer day than I have, but it has been my honor to be here and learn a little bit about how your district is run. Our formal request is that the district consider SRP's offer to purchase an easement along the 8 feet south on the south edge of the Cooley Middle School property. This would serve some very important needs of the surrounding community. Just super quickly, the distribution substations serve about a 4 square mile area in an ideal situation. The substation capacity is needed to serve the system. It is not a specific customer, it is overall growth in the area. Additional power needs by existing customers, as well as new residences, new businesses in the community that has just put critical capacity constraints on nearly all of our substations in the Southeast Valley. This is work that we would be anticipating and hoping to have completed this summer, but depending on construction schedules, we would obviously arrange that with the school. But I'd be happy to answer any questions that you guys have about the offer of compensation or anything additional.
President. Oops, sorry.
Okay, I'll go first. Thanks so much for coming. Oh, my word. What exactly is the measurements of this area? Like, honestly, the theory of it where we just kind of forfeit it and can't have access to it, I'm just really hoping it's really bitty, if that makes sense.
So it is an 8-foot wide strip along the south edge of the property that abuts essentially the ADOT right-of-way. We can't go into the ADOT right-of-way because it actually has a Roosevelt Water Conservation District irrigation facility there, just on the other side. That is the drivable path that we would otherwise look to go. So we're talking about 8 feet wide. It would be generally underground distribution power facilities that will be buried, and the surface of the property would generally still be usable. The intent would be to connect from the Cooley substation that's it's on the southeast corner of the school property, and we would be heading west towards an existing conduit that crosses under the freeway. So we need capacity to extend to the community further west as well to the south, and there are only certain places where you can cross the freeway infrastructure, and essentially we have very few viable options to get to that conduit as a design alternative. So this would be critically needed with very few design alternatives that would not be extremely expensive to the utility to go around the school. As a not-for-profit utility, this is a cost of the system that would get spread amongst all customers. And as we have to serve additional load in the area and be able to accommodate new businesses and summer loads so people can run their air conditioners, this is definitely required for system capacity reliability. I'll try and make this a little bit brief, but the area, what the easement does require is essentially a compatibility review from SRP if you were to redevelop that area or want to put additional improvements in it. By having it abutting the edge of the property, we'd be looking to minimize the impact to the property. And essentially the reason that SRP needs the ability to approve additional uses is for the safety of the people that might do the work in that area. You wouldn't want somebody to be digging and not realize it was there, and you would have an electrical incident. So therefore, we stick to the edge. We try to have minimal impact, but it's essentially there to protect the public, the school, staff, et cetera.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. Superintendent Lotzenheiser, how will it affect any kind of flow at Cooley or anything like that with the schools?
So if you take a look, this is the plot. So that's where Cooley is if you look on the screen. So you can see where the 8 feet is. That's the furthest away from the building. It's really on the edge of the fields. And so there's no cars that go there. There's no traffic that goes there. The substation, I believe, is in that cutout corner already. So it's just adding it to that. And so when you talk about impact truly coming in and impacting the day-to-day operations of the school, it's not going to, and that's where we felt comfortable in partnering with SRP to allow them to help meet the demand that they had.
Okay, thank you.
President Wade, I did have quite a bit of questions, and if you don't mind, I'm just going to read through them, and then if you can just answer them as I go, please. And so this is, the district will receive a one-time payment of $26,500, and then SRP will cover escrow and recording fees. And then unless SRP formally abandons the easement, this encumbrance remains in place indefinitely?
Yes.
Okay, and then the easement and required clear areas may limit future site planning, including buildings, parking, reconfigurations, landscaping. I just want to ensure that, again, I know you said that there's no impact as far as on the school, but these are things that it could impact, correct?
That is correct. So as a permanent easement that would be recorded against the property that's intended for the facilities to remain in place, they essentially get installed, and we would only access and maintain them in the event that the cable goes bad and they're in a conduit. So it's very unlikely that we'd be accessing these lines once, but every 10 to 40 years, depending on nothing impacting the ground. If they were dug up and we needed to get in there to repair it, it would be that. To address the question of whether or not it impacts the future development of the property, yes, you are on, but being on the outer edge of the property, this is generally something that is along many parcels' edges. Public utility easements are often dedicated in this exact width for that purpose, so that any public utility can cross through, whether that's the power utility, your cable, internet, gas lines, things like that. So given the nature of the size of the parcel, there is not a public utility easement for us to have in place that would have been dedicated when the site was initially built. And therefore, we don't have a option of going across that direction to get south of the freeway or even west of the school property. So this would be our attempt at having it be the least impactful. And it also would be there in a manner that additional improvements that can be compatible, that includes landscaping, walking paths, which is what that area is right now, and things like that. They would not be restricted. It would just be SRP having to approve the future change of use so that we ensure that our facilities can still be operated and maintained safely. So that's the intent, that it would still remain part of the school property and be able to be worked with. The facilities could also be relocated in the future if necessary, but to the extent that that can be avoided, that's the intent of ensuring that everybody is aware publicly of the location of those facilities.
Great, thank you. And then also the 25% use factor, how did we come up with that 25%? Is this standard for school districts? And also, did this come from SRP? Like, do we have the ability to appraise that as well to see what the value would be?
Yes, so the 25% is a intensity of use factor that is a standard that our third-party appraisers generally apply to underground utility easements. Appraisals are a matter of opinion, and as I'm not sure if we completely addressed this, but we did not pay for a third-party appraisal report that could often be a 90-page document that talks about every factor that impacts property values across the valley in this community, the zoning of this parcel, the potential future use, highest and best use. We used sales data to come up with a price per square foot that we believed would be comparable, but it is not an independent third-party appraisal, but it was sales comps that came from an appraiser that pulled that data. So I guess I will let you defer your other question. I think you were looking at.
I'm just curious. So does the appraiser work for SRP, or are they independent appraisers?
This was an internal SRP employee.
Okay. And do we have the ability to get it appraised to see what the value might be?
We have that ability with the cost, of course.
Right.
Not sure. If
I'm curious what the cost would be, if it would be, worth it. But I don't know if maybe other school districts have had it and then the appraisal came in at double what we're being offered at, $26,000. Just the thought. Also, So let's say that you decide to go outside of Exhibit A. At that point, would there be an amendment made, an additional payment to the district, and then require board approval at that time?
So the easement language allows the area to be amended. This is intended to be only if there are site conditions that do not allow us to locate the facilities where they are at that would be significantly impactful to most likely the school property, or say the irrigation line that RWCD has rights to have out there if that's in the wrong spot and we simply have to shift a small amount. If there was a significant change in the easement area, we would essentially understand that it was not the school's intent to grant an easement across your entire property that we can just install wherever we want. So this is meant to just enable existing site conditions to be addressed, and a minor amendment would be recorded. If it was a significant impact to the easement area, not along the edge, or it was the entirety shifted significantly, we would be reaching out before we decided to install the facilities, knowing that that was a material change.
And is that language in the agreement? Or can we make sure that that language is in the agreement, that if you do decide to make a significant change outside of Exhibit A, that there would be that conversation?
It would likely
I just want to make sure the district's protected.
Some modification of the language that we could work through.
That would be wonderful. Bear with me as I go through. My last question is for the staff. I just want to understand that according to ARS 15-342, that all statutory notice requirements have to be met when land is sold. And I'm just wondering if that requirement has been met.
Madam President and Member Van Hook, I'm not a real estate lawyer, but my understanding is that easements aren't included in the statutory requirement that the board has. The 15-342 are your board authorities regarding sale, lease, and trade of property, I believe.
But if it is district property, which is why we're doing this, and the district is being compensated for a portion of land, land that clearly is within Higley's ownership, my understanding is that it does require public notice. If we can just get confirmation on that from a real estate attorney, because I want to ensure that we're in compliance when it comes to that statute. That's all I have.
Would that cost money?
So it would go under your prepaid legal through the trust. There are real estate attorneys in our office. I could run that.
And money or not, we have to ensure that we're in compliance. So it would cost us much more if we weren't. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So my assumption is that we can make these motions under the assumption that we are honoring the laws that exist with respect to that. And if we pass this motion and for some reason this specific easement is not what we're supposed to do or the process, at that point we are capable of making those changes. That is correct. I just want to make sure I can motion rather than...
Board Member Wade, I'm not sure if an attorney reviewed this agreement, but I've worked on other easements and I understand SRP has a standard format. So If there was a problem, we could bring it back at a future meeting.
We also gave up some land at Gateway to make a roundabout, and we didn't have to go through the same process to do some of those things. And I get that that is a different situation than the easement we're doing here specifically, but what I'm trying to express, it's not the sale, the lease, or the exchange of a land, which is what you expressed with respect to that law. Is that correct? Correct. An easement is not a sale. That's what Ms. Schultz just expressed.
President Wade, I know you're saying that you're not sure, but I want to make sure that we are sure about what we have to do, because after it's recorded, we can't do it. And so I would feel much safer finding out for sure. I mean, what's the urgency here?
We would certainly
as far as getting the work done?
We would certainly have the time to accommodate that. This is not
Urgent.
impending.
Okay. So if, with that said, if we can possibly table this to make that decision, and then we can vote then. But with that, I move to table 7.5.
Second.
Would it be okay if I ask a question?
Can I ask a question? When is the date that this needs to be decided? Is it in the time frame of our next board?
I mean, you expressed clearly that there is time. We meet in 2 weeks.
We don't have a construction schedule currently for this work. We would have time to close escrow. If the concern is merely around whether or not the school district has the legal authority, did not need to meet the requirements of conveying property. Just by analogy, SRP cannot convey property without our board's approval. Our easements are treated differently. We can convey easements. We do not treat them as a sale or a disposition of the property, because it is just a portion of the property rights. We certainly would not be recording the easement. We would have that time to do so. My request would be that you consider the approval of the motion subject to meeting the requirements of that statute, but I understand if you wanted to table the issue.
Well, you just got to vote. Either way, I appreciate the clarification. We all have to vote on whether or not we choose to table, and then depending on the outcome of the table, because I second it, so we can just move on with that process. Depending on the outcome of the table determines what happens next.
President Wade, and I just want to add that, again, it's better to know for sure what our legal requirement is versus not being able to go back and do it after it's approved. And because there is no urgency, again, we do meet in a couple weeks, and so we can do it at that time.
Did you show up? The motion to table had 2 yeas and 3 nays, so the table failed. I will motion to approve the Salt River Project distribution easement pending, what was the delightful language that we should include in terms of making sure that the way we understand the law is in fact accurate and we're not saying something that we disagree with?
Madam President, it would be pending legal review confirming
Okay.
board's authority.
So I motion to approve the Salt River Project distribution easement pending, crap, I already forgot it. Legal review, ADHD, everybody. I appreciate it. So I motion to approve the Salt River Project distribution easement pending legal review.
Second.
All right, thanks, Mr. Glover.
As long as there's going to be legal review and making sure that that language that we discussed is in there in case there's changes to appendix.
For the legal review. I appreciate that. I did not say that into the microphone. Motion carried 5-0. No, wait, that's that's a new old thing that's showing up. You're getting me all kinds of confused. Did you vote on the last one?
You know what? It glitched. Did it show I did? Did it show I didn't? Okay, it did glitch.
So do you want to record yours right now?
Oh, yay. Thank you.
So is that 5 yays? I was correct in that, or did I say that incorrect? Great, 5 yays. This brings us to 8.1, future agenda items. Does anyone have any requests for future agenda items?
I do. Bear with me while I find my notes. Ms. O'Neill, I'd like to, I don't know if this should be a future agenda item or if you can please give me a call so that I can have a conversation related to, I want to be able to address board members wasting meeting time to make false and defamatory accusations and against other board members. So whether we can discuss it publicly or whether I can discuss it with you, but that is a discussion I'd like to have, please.
A motion to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
That would be Ms. Jarman seconding. Motion carries 5-0. Everybody please drive safe.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Imagine I will have a phone call from their lawyer next.
See you tomorrow. See you Thursday. Can't leave the room. What's in the